Where we will start is Mr. Greeson is dressed well. What's up with the shades today, bro? You doing the Stevie Wonder thing?
Well, no, although I guess I could do some ebony and ivory. I don't know if I'm gonna have to move my head back and forth. Where's Joe Piscopo when you need him? I'm
All right.
certain he would work for cheap. All right. Uh, well, truth be told, I
Oh,
whoa,
hello,
yeah.
hello.
Well, we got one of those going on.
Did you go to
And
Knoxville? Did you go to Knoxville the other night?
well, I tried to post up Dalton Connect, and he connected. No, I wish I had a cool story like that. I wish I had a cool story like I was pitching softball with my middle school daughter, and I took a bad hop. No, uh, I'm happy to say I don't have a story like this is what happens when you spill paint in the garage at my house, and the wife gets mad at you. So I mean, because no, domestic violence is never an answer. Truth be told, I got out of my recliner and I'm an old man. I'm getting older, and the French bulldog that we call Coco ran underneath my feet, and I fell flat on my face.
It's Coco. Come on.
Coco, Coco won. Jay none.
What about your other body parts besides the eye? Like, did you got some bruises on the knee?
I got a couple of bruises. The hip. I woke up the hip, and to be honest, this is a week old. This happened last Friday night.
Okay.
So,
it looked worse.
It now looks presentable compared to where I was. I mean, I've felt multiple times like, man, Mike Tyson was so right. Everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face.
That's everybody got a plan till they get punched in the mouth.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, and he's going to knock somebody into oblivion, or
yes.
Bolivia.
Bolivia.
Yeah, he's going to knock somebody to Bolivia.
Yeah. He might fade off to Bolivia.
Yes. The man. Whew, that was a dude in the day.
Oh, I've always said that when he was in his prime, before he got beat by Buster Douglas, that he was the scariest, most dominant athlete I'd ever seen in their sport.
Hey, I'll go you a step further. I know we got a lot of college basketball to get to because there's a lot of great stuff going on. If Tiger Woods and Mike Tyson could have been eunuchs, they would have retired as the far and away goats of their lifetime, of their sport of all time. Yeah. If they could have stayed away from the women, they would have they'd have been unstoppable.
Yeah, I remember for Tyson fights, I would always just root so hard for the opponent to survive the first round just so I could see that look of fear in his eyes between round 1 and round 2. But it hardly ever happened in the big ones, like Spinks was 91 seconds, etc. All right, we got to talk hoops. There's our old school boxing thoughts of the day. Okay, before we get going, I thought Lunardi updated his latest, so I thought I would just give where everybody stands in the conference. So right now, Texas A&M and Ole Miss are in the next 4 out. The good news for the Aggies is they are the 5th team out, whereas Ole Miss is the 7th team out. So lots of work to do for those two teams that will extend into the Nashville weekend coming up. So Mississippi State right now is an 8 seed slotted to play Nebraska and Memphis, with Houston being the number 1 seed in that region. Bama is a 3 to Akron, 14 in Memphis. Wisconsin's the 6th seed, with New Mexico Seton Hall coming out of the first 4 to face the Badgers. The Vols are a 2 seed facing Fairfield in Charlotte, and the 7-10 game is Texas Tech, Nevada. The Gators are a 7-10 game in Charlotte with FAU. First off, I don't agree with that. I think the Gators are at least a 6 for now.
FAU that'd be an awful 7-10 draw.
Yeah, it would be. I don't want to play FAU. Hell no. Hell no. FAU don't want to play Florida either.
No, they don't. No, nobody wants to play Florida as a 7, because then Golden's going to get them riled up that everybody's disrespecting you.
Oh, it's actually us that's the 7 and FAU.
No, I know. No, I know that.
Okay.
But I agree with you that I think the way Florida's played the last 3 weeks, they look 100% like a 6, and I can make a hard argument they're the 2nd toughest draw behind Kentucky right now when it comes to tournaments. because their backcourt's so good.
Speaking of BBN and the Cats, they're in a 4-13 game with Vermont in Spokane. BBN will not be happy to get sent to Spokane, but they may
No.
just save their money for the Sweet 16, and we'll see how that works out. That'll make Calipari getting fired even more likely. So they're sent to Spokane and might have to play well, I don't know that any Kentucky game in a tournament is a road game, but Wazoo is, same state as Spokane, Washington State. If they get past App State, which Auburn fans are aware is not easy. The Gamecocks are in Omaha as a 6 seed to face the first 4 winner of Providence and Gonzaga, where if they advance, no, number 3 Kansas could be on deck, but Kansas. Yeah.
South Carolina could be an underdog to Gonzaga in the national betting market.
Sure. 100%. Okay, and then the last one, Jay and his fan base are getting sent to the big city, Brooklyn, to face La Tech, and then the 5-12. If the Auburn advances, 5-12 would be a Clemson Richmond winner, most likely the Tigers. All right, updated odds to win the regular season title: Vols -115, Bama -105, South Carolina 20-1, Kentucky 110-1, Auburn and Florida 140-1. Real quickly before we get Jay's analysis, here are the 3 games remaining for those teams: Vols at Bama tomorrow, then at South Carolina, Kentucky at home. By far the toughest stretch, in my opinion, although South Carolina's is hard as well. Bama at home to the Vols, at Florida, Arkansas at home, South Carolina at home to Florida, at home to the Vols, at the Hump, Mississippi State, obviously, Kentucky at home to Arkansas, at home to Vandy, and at the Vols. So Kentucky should get 2 easy wins. We'll see. It is March now. Oh, and happy March. Auburn, Mississippi State at home, at Mizzou, Georgia at home. Auburn should be able to go 3-0 there. Florida at South Carolina, Bama at home, at Vandy. Your thoughts?
One, I am tickled. We talked 3 or so weeks ago about long shot odds, and Kentucky was really banged up. And I put a little taste on, and I remember us talking about it on Kentucky winning the regular season in the SEC at 91. And now that's a great looking ticket. I might even see if they'll offer a settle up on that thing. But I probably will wait to see if the Cats going to Knoxville is a de facto title game and go accordingly. At 140-1 with an easy schedule in front of them and chaos looming, and you have to wonder who's going to rest whom, especially with a lot of these teams believing they've already punched a ticket to the dance. At 140-1, Auburn is not a bad risk right now. And I know they lost a heartbreaker Wednesday night, but that's 2 very winnable home games in a place that they are great, and a trip to a Mizzou team that is right there with Michigan as the most quit program in America. And
I hate it. Oh, go ahead.
So, do I think Tennessee wins it? Probably, because they've got the advantage in a lot of directions, but I don't like those odds. I'm not taking even money on Tennessee or Alabama right now, because I'd rather play them head up and go accordingly.
Yeah. So, and I don't think I said this, Vols and Bama are tied, but they only face each other once this year. So the head-to-head tiebreaker will go to tomorrow's winner. So, in other words, the winner
in a betting strategy, Brian, because I know you do this for a living, is could you see logic in betting on Alabama to win the SEC and then betting on Tennessee to win the game?
Going to depend on what that money line price is, which is interesting, because what do you think? And I'll tell you what I thought. So I got to scroll down to get there. So Ken Palm's line for Tennessee at Bama tomorrow is Bama -1. I wrote down Bama -5.
No, I think it's going to be way north of 1.
I
And I
think so too.
know I know Tennessee's coming off a very impressive national stage win.
All the more
That
reason to make Alabama a little more.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and I would feel comfortable laying even north of 5. Alabama is great at home. They are great, and I know Tennessee is tremendous defensively, but Alabama can score. Alabama can score with the Clippers. I mean, that offense, when it's humming, look out.
I think they scored 80 in the last 25 minutes of the game the other night, didn't they? Because
yes,
they were
I
like
think
low 20s, you know, past mid first half.
I would rather bet on me beating Coco than bet on an Alabama under. I mean,
Right.
this is what happens when that happens, right?
Uh,
So,
yeah.
wow.
Well, yeah. So the over is on a 7-0 run for Bama to improve to 21-7 overall. They've had two totals in the 170s. And by the way, I think the total will be 175.5 tomorrow. Ken Palm says 169. But they've had two totals in the 170s. Over went 2-0. They've had totals of 165.5 or higher 7 times, over 6-1. So they're not scared. Even their highest totals go over.
Well, and to that regard, one, Tennessee can score because Auburn actually guards people, and they put 92
Right.
on the board Wednesday night. Two, Alabama's given up. What was the number I looked up? Alabama has played 28 games this year and given up 75 or more 19 times, including 5 non-SEC games that they gave up 75 or more.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you think if you can find it at 165, holy cow, they're going to give up 75 to you, me, your mom, your niece, and my daughter, and they're going to put 90 on the board against almost everybody.
Yes. Yes. I had their team total over the other night instead of both teams over, and it wasn't looking good there for a while, but it got there way easy, way easy. Okay, so just going back, so to think about your bet, so you're holding the 90 to 1 ticket. Let's say we're right and Alabama's 5-ish, so that's going to make Tennessee in the plus 180, maybe even 185. I'd say 190 tops range.
Right.
And then you're talking about an Alabama minus 105 bet. Well, so I think we first need to answer the question: who do we both think is going to win outright tomorrow? Forget cover on Alabama and
Right.
Tennessee. I think Bama's going to win outright.
I do too.
Okay, so at that point, Alabama, uh, if Tennessee, or I mean, if South Carolina beats Florida, Alabama will still be one ahead of South Carolina. Okay, Kentucky will win tomorrow. So will Auburn. Well, Auburn not a given, but I think they win tomorrow. Um, so
I love Auburn laying the number tomorrow, and I know it's going to be inflated because they're at home. But Jalen Williams' knee is in good spot, and I know we're jumping around and not going our normal traditional way. But Auburn returning home, that place is going to be rocking. Mississippi State, man, the Magnolia State took a couple of gut punches this week, and I mean, Reed Shepherd delivered a dagger. I actually wrote this week in the 5 at 10, my morning column at timesfreepress.com, that Reed Shepherd was probably like a minus 1,000 SEC player of the week pick after Tuesday night. And then Dalton Connect happened to Auburn. So,
right.
I mean,
Yes.
Wow. What do you do?
Well, let's see what happens tomorrow. They've both
Right.
got.
I mean, fair enough. Yeah. Because Mark Sears may say, hey, I'm over here and I scored 35 a game.
Yeah, what did Sears do again? He had a big game against Ole Miss, didn't he? Yeah. So, all right. So no. So back to. So let's see. So after tomorrow, if going by what we're thinking now.
And remember, and I hate to interrupt you on this because I really like this conversation.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Alabama play at 8. So you can, if you set up those scenarios, we should all know almost all of those scenarios before they tip.
Right. Right.
And in a
Correct.
betting real-time world, this is important information.
But so with Kentucky and Auburn, even if they hold serve, and yeah, regardless of what happens tomorrow night, they're still going to be 2 games back, okay, and have to win out, and the winner tomorrow lose twice. So let's think about let's think about the chances of that. Vols at South Carolina. I mean, that's going to be a tight spread. I'd have to slight lean to Vols. What do you
Oh,
think?
I completely lean to Vols because I think they're going to get walked in Tuscaloosa, and they're going to show up. And South Carolina has kind of peaked. And I don't know. I love Lamont Paris,
Yeah,
but I think in a lot of ways they may have gotten overlooked very early in this season, and they sprinted to a conference, and now everybody's giving them the respect they have earned and showing up ready to play. And I know playing in Columbia is not easy, but Tennessee's way better than South Carolina. Period. End of conversation.
sure.
And when we get to March and these kids get motivated, that matters way more than it does in December and even in January. So no matter what happens Saturday, that's a great point. I think Tennessee walks South Carolina.
Yeah. Okay. Two things. One, and I know you're not dogging on South Carolina. You're just talking about
Right.
you just advantage Tennessee. That's all you're saying. I will have to say, and I know you'll agree, when they got smoked at Auburn, I mean, I was kind of giving them a mulligan, but then they blow the lead at home to LSU. I was starting to get worried about them. But then they go at Ole Miss, a desperate Ole Miss team. They win by double digits. Then they go at A&M, an even more desperate team, and they win 2 back-to-back road games. That is the answer to your one little hiccup. You know, the only time they've lost back-to-back games all year, and they have responded extremely well. So I get since we both think Alabama's going to win tomorrow, the more relevant question is what in terms of you and potential bets as hedges tomorrow, or even adding Auburn 140 to 1. The bigger question is who do you think wins Alabama at Florida? And I say Florida. What do you think?
Well, I would think that too, especially coming off a big Tennessee win. And I think the important thing about looking down this yellow brick or green brick road, however you want to describe it, is you've completely talked me out of Auburn because even though they've got a real good chance to go 3-0, there are too many lily pads that everybody's got to jump across for everybody to fall in the water for Auburn to have a path to this. So I think that is the conclusion of this.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Florida is a better bet at 140 to 1.
Well, and because
They're 3 games back, though, right?
no, two. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we can end this conversation, well, in one of two ways. Well, the first way is that if Alabama loses at Florida, they get Arkansas at home. And so that eliminates
Right.
the 3 teams to take long shot odds unless one thing happens. If Tennessee wins at Bama tomorrow, because they could lose at South Carolina and lose at home to Kentucky. So if you're interested, and not just for you, for any of our listeners, if you're interested in Kentucky, Auburn, or UF at the 110, and then for 110 for Kentucky, 140 for Auburn and UF, you have to have Tennessee win. Because they're the only team that I think would get swept in those last 2 potentially. I don't think either will get swept. So
Which
yeah,
and I know, and we'll move quickly through the breakdown of the games. If you're like me and we talked about it, and I'm holding a 90 to 1 ticket on Kentucky to win, do I start hedging now, betting Kentucky or betting Tennessee on the money line?
no, I think your 90 to 1 is just an L, and I don't want to add any more L's. I
Okay.
just don't. Now, if they were only 1 game back, yes, we could
Okay.
find scenarios to hedge. I think at 90 to 1, for that to get there, we're just going to have some chaos that I just don't see happening. I just don't see an Arkansas winning in Tuscaloosa. And now Tennessee could win at Bama, and then it could lose those next 2. But to hedge at this point, you're potentially creating another L when the 90-1 is a likely L. Does that make sense? Does that
No,
you
that
feel?
makes perfect sense. I mean, let's break down the games. I
Yeah.
hate how long I
Oh
have
no, we're all good. All right,
disputed.
so Florida at South Carolina, noon Eastern, ESPN. So I made Florida a 1.5 point favorite. Ken Palm has South Carolina -2. Are you thinking pick 'em or one side or the other is a slight favorite?
I think South Carolina will be a slight favorite, just because of the national appeal. I don't think a whole lot of the nation and the lines makers. I know they use analytics and I know they use algorithms and they set the lines accordingly, but I don't think either of these teams are getting the respect they deserve. And I certainly don't think the way Florida has played the last 3+ weeks, it's getting the notoriety. They took Missouri's best punch the other night, and that's the best Missouri's played. Watching a whole lot of SEC basketball, that's the best they've played since I don't know, Thanksgiving. And Florida's still responding. I know it was at home. Florida right now, I don't know who wants a piece of Florida in this league. I mean, they're playing salty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying not to be too homerish, but I mean, I'm getting a good feeling about this team. I mean, and especially because when you think about making a 6 game run in the tournament, I think uh, point guard play and rim protection are key. And with Pullen and Clayton, and when Riley Kugel's right, which is kind of all over the place, but mostly talking about Pullen. And then you just got 4 big guys that got 20 fouls to use, and all 4 are. I mean, the 2 freshmen are getting better and better, and they've got a good feel for the game. Yeah, I'm liking Florida.
Holden's
I,
done a great job with this team because
yes,
they were. I mean, it felt in some ways like it was the old school game we played Operation when we were kids, and he was just like trying to pick pieces. And every time he'd put that little metal thing close, and then now he's put it all together. And hey, that bunch, their basketball's in front of them. Truly,
yeah, I'm getting fired up. I think we're 8. We're 8. Oh wait, are we 9-2 now? Let's see. I think we're now 9-2 in our last 11, but we could easily be 11-0 in those games. So just a couple quick stats. So South Carolina 9-2 straight up, 8-3 ATS at home. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's their last 11 games, regardless of venue. South Carolina at home, 13-2 straight up, 9-6 ATS. Florida on the road, only 3-5 straight up, but 5-3 ATS. And Florida has won 3 straight head-to-head meetings, both straight up and ATS. But that's irrelevant because this South Carolina team is way better than previous squads. And Miles Studi for South Carolina averages 9 points, 3.3 rebounds per game. He's missed back-to-back games with a knee, and he's questionable tomorrow. All right, you got a pick on this? I like the Gators.
I do too. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. That will be one of my plays of the weekend in Jay's plays. But this week we've been riding the roller coaster. Thank you for your East Carolina tidbit about their underrun, and thank the heavens for Minnesota being. They are a bedspread, man. They cover like a nobody's business.
Yeah,
Minnesota is a monster.
I got my first loss on them Sunday at Nebraska, but Nebraska's an equal monster at home. But I came right back with them at Illinois and got that cover. So they've I mean, I got late to the program, but I think I've had 4 winners on them now. I think I'm 4-1 taking them. All right. So we both like the Gators in game 1. All right. We may just skip this one. It is LSU at Vanderbilt. I made it 5. Ken Palm's got it 5. Would you be interested in LSU -5 at Vandy?
No, not at all. Not
Me neither.
in no regard. Because I don't know. No.
Yeah, me neither. I have no interest in that game. That's 3:30 Eastern on the SEC network. All right, on ESPN at 4 o'clock. Auburn in revenge mode. They lost at the Hump 77-72 if memory serves. And they
No. It was like 55-52.
Oh, okay. My apologies.
No, it was a rock fight. So and even with Hubbard, their big guy can play. Mississippi State's going to win a game in the tournament.
Yeah,
So
they're playing good right now for sure.
and I think I asked this question on Twitter. And do you think Hubbard is in Starkville next year? Because he can go to Lexington or Lawrence and earn 10 times the NIL money, or if he shows out the next 3 weeks, there could be talk about him being an NBA scorer because he elevates on his jumper. He can get a shot against anybody.
Yes, he was really good the other night. I did not pull 77-72 out of my ass. That's what Mississippi State beat Tennessee by, but you were correct on the rock fight, 64-58 when Auburn went to the Hump. Okay, so I wrote down Auburn -10. Ken Palm got Auburn -9, total of 145. What are you thinking on the line?
No, I'm laying the number. I've made money all year on Auburn at home, and even with the last 2 losses, it's like LSU over, and I especially love them coming off a loss.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now there is a breaking point where I wouldn't lay it, and it's probably
dozen
12 is probably I would probably lay up to 11 and a half. Maybe I'd lay 12. I don't know, man. Mississippi State's playing pretty good to lay 12, but it is Auburn at home where they are 13-1 straight up, 9-4-1 ATS, and 2 of those non-covers were like by a hook when they were laying 20 plus. So I know you like Auburn. At what number would you not be able to lay it?
Here's the thing, though. The numbers between 12 and 14 don't scare me as much as the numbers between 5 and 7.
Right.
And I say that because when it gets to be 14, especially with Auburn's depth, they just keep the waves just keep coming.
Sorry, 14 home games, 1 loss, 1 win by 11, 12 wins by 15 or more. So maybe 15 should be the cutoff point.
Well, it's like Marquette and Providence the other night. I was on Marquette, and the nation was on Providence because Providence was getting 11 and a half or 12.
I was on Providence.
Providence beat them at home, but
by 15.
Yeah, and then you flip the script, and this team, a very good Marquette team, a more talented Marquette team, was A, motivated, B, at home, and the crowd was into it, and they rolled them from the tip.
Yes, they did. Has there been an update on Tyler Kolex? He got banged up the other night, didn't he?
I have not seen it, brother.
Okay. I was doing a Twitter search for it. I'll get back to that. I'm on
Auburn, and I like Florida a lot. I actually like Florida a lot.
Okay, sweet. So do I. All right. Texas A&M at Georgia. You talk about desperation mode for the Aggies, and maybe we need to have a small conversation about Buzz Williams's future. I'm not saying he'd get fired, but maybe would he leave? I don't think Ross Bork at Ohio State's going to want to bring him there. I don't think so.
Well, there's no way he could get fired considering what A&M's on the hook for with just buying out the football staff.
Sure, that's what I would think.
I mean, I can't think that even if he misses the tournament again, do they really care? I mean,
right?
Do they really care at A&M?
Right.
I mean, name the best A&M basketball player.
Taylor.
Robert Williams.
Ever. Alex Caruso.
Oh, yikes. If we're going to line up and we may do this in the offseason, If we're going to line up all of the SEC teams and rank them by their best all-time basketball player, if Texas A&M is trotting out Alex Caruso for a game of one-on-one, that sucks ass.
Yeah. I mean, who's Auburn going? Chuck or the Rifleman? I mean, who are we? Horford or
if you're bringing to one-on-one games, it better damn well be Vernon Maxwell because nobody wants to guard that dude.
You are correct. You are correct on that. All right, so I said I thought it would be A&M -1. Ken Palm says Georgia -1. Are you wanting any thing to do with this game? I will say A&M has won 4 in a row in the rivalry, 8 of the last 9. So there's that.
I don't want any of this. I think there are more desirable games, and some of them we've already touched on.
Yes.
But I will say this. There's no way to back Georgia on this. There's just no way. When you talk about desperation, Georgia's team started quickly, and the Stegosaurus was a pretty good home environment. I'd be real curious to see how many students show up for this one and how lively that dated building is, considering what have they lost? 7 of the last 9? I mean, they have
they've lost 8 of the last 9. The only win at Vandy. Now they are 4-5 ATS during that stretch, but I get your point. Yeah, A&M didn't even have a good crowd the other night.
Again, like they care.
Right.
I mean, exactly. Alex Caruso. I mean, let's just call them the Texas A&M Carusos when we get into the winter. Can we? I think they should change the name. We are the Caruso. We are the Fighting Carusos.
So anyway, UGA and A&M, 6 p.m. Eastern, SEC Network. Jay and I pass on that one. I will point out the overs on a 6-1 run for the Aggies. Okay, so Jay agreed with me. I said Bama -5. Ken Palm said 1 and 169. I said 175.5 on the total. So as long now, I wouldn't lay more than 5 with Bama. If it's more than 4, I'll probably just be looking at the over total for especially if it's 170 or fewer. But I'll also be looking at Alabama's team total over, which let's see. So if it's 169 and they're thinking Bama -1, so they're thinking team total in the 85-ish range for both teams. Yeah, anything less than 87, I'll be on Alabama's team total over.
I'm with you on the over. I like Bama. I think Tennessee's going to be a little overvalued on the number. I like your -5 range in terms of what your expectation is, but I think the number could very well be a pick 'em -1 either way line when it comes to what is set tomorrow. It's the one thing I wish college basketball, and maybe they're going to figure this out, they're going to need to set these Saturday lines a little ahead of time, as gambling is now legal in 38 states. So it's not like we are calling veto down at the pizza place and saying, hey, what you got on Bama? No, I mean, these are the conversations that everybody is having. And I mean, heck, ESPN puts it on the scroll. So no, I expect Bama to win. I expect Bama to score. But my favorite play in the entire game is the over, because Bama scores on everybody, especially there, and they don't guard real well.
Well, brilliant minds think alike. Right as you were saying that, how we wish we had the number. I did notice that FanDuel put out some Saturday numbers probably around this time last week. Last week, but I just went there and they don't have them, and neither does DraftKings quite yet. So we're probably going to be a pass on the finale of tomorrow's SEC slate. Ole Miss at Missouri. I wrote down Ole Miss -4. Ken Palm's got Ole Miss -2. Total 148. It's 8:30 p.m. Eastern on the SEC Network. Now, look, I could see where, there may be a thought that Missouri, okay, this is not their last home game. They get Auburn on Tuesday, and then they're at LSU. This might be the spot where they bow up and they get that one win, because or it could be with Auburn. We'll see.
All right. Do you think which is more likely? Ole Miss bowing up, winless in the league, saying let's fight for the old college try and get our one win, or Ole Miss saying we are in desperation mode and if we lose this game, we're so far off the bubble, we're going to have to win the SEC tournament.
Right. Yeah. If it was Pick'em, I'd have to go Ole Miss, I think. Yeah, that's what you're thinking, right?
No, well, I again, there are three
Other
really
games.
good games
Right.
that not only do I want to wager on, I want to watch.
Yeah.
So, but I just there's no way in good conscience I could ever even mention betting on Missouri unless Eli Drinkwitz is on the sideline.
Okay. Let's review. Florida, South Carolina. We both like the Gators. That's your favorite of the day, or?
It's my second favorite behind the Bama Tennessee over.
Okay. All right. Now Arkansas.
My third favorite is Auburn at home, laying double digits and taking care of business. And the rest of them, play it if you want to watch it, but right. I don't see how you can play anything but Texas A&M. I don't see how you can play anything but Ole Miss. And if you are such a junkie that you're going to watch LSU Vandy, then I suggest you find a different hobby. And if you want to come over here and punch me in this eye, that could be a hobby too. So God bless America. I mean, I don't know what to say.
All right. So, all right. Arkansas and Kentucky. I would be okay with Kentucky in a money line parlay, although I don't think that would help the money line parlay a whole lot. I would certainly be good with Auburn in a money line parlay. And then look, so I was going to say I'm probably only going to be on Bama if they're 3 or fewer, but I would still like them in a money line parlay if they're 5, 6, maybe even 7. I'm just throwing out some thoughts. And like I said, I like Alabama team total over. And if the total for both teams is 170, hell, if it's like 173 or less, I'll probably be on that. That's Jay's favorite play, correct?
Correct.
All right. Latrell Wrightsell for Bama, who had scored 21 points in 16 in the 2 previous games before he got concussed, has missed 3 in a row, and he is still questionable tomorrow. He shoots 44.5% from 3. He has made all 27 free throw attempts this year, averages 9 points per game. Okay, Ole Miss at Mizzou, that's a pass. If you wanted to do just an all SEC money line parlay, I would be okay with Ole Miss in there to go with Bama and Auburn and Kentucky. All righty.
One, great soliloquy there. Appreciate. I mean, you just rattling stuff off. I mean, it was. You're like those old school World War II movies where that guy just standing there going. One, the word concussed is great. I love the word. The verbalization of concussion is outstanding. So I love that. 2, is there any way you would bet against Dalton Knecht being the SEC Player of the Year?
If Reed Shepherd goes for 60 tomorrow.
Well, okay. 3. If Dalton Knecht was guarded by Dalton from Roadhouse, who wins? Does Dalton score, or does Dalton Knecht score, or does Dalton from Roadhouse D him up? Whether Sam Elliott's character comes off the bench or not, that doesn't matter to us right now. It's Dalton versus Dalton, one-on-one. Who wins?
Dalton Knecht.
Okay. What happens if Dalton from Roadhouse calls Timothy Dalton as James Bond, as well as Fred Dalton Thompson from the hunt from Red October, and they triple team him, does he still score a bucket?
He pulls from 35 feet, and yes, it's on net.
Damn it. He's the number one Dalton then. He's the number one Dalton. I can't help it. I've been trying to come up with a way that he's not the number one Dalton. Finally, you and I have been SEC basketball fans for a long time, even more so than your average SEC football fan. How sad is where Arkansas is? Because Arkansas, Kentucky used to be the game of the bleeping year. And Saturday is going to be an absolute baby seal clubbing.
Yes. Yeah, it sucks, but it was like that for 20 years. I mean, Muss has delivered 3 great years in a row. It just did not work out this year. But, I mean, he'll have a whole new group of transfers and freshmen coming in next year, and I think they'll be fine.
The league's better when Arkansas is good, period.
No, they should be, without question, the third best SEC program, period. I mean, behind only Kentucky and
well, they should be in that group. There's like 4 or 5 now that are pushing their chips in.
I guess with Pearl with Auburn,
Tennessee and Barnes, Florida has tradition and looks like they're heading on their way back. But everybody's facing Kentucky. But Arkansas does not have to apologize to anybody.
Yeah, when I was saying third, I think I was going back to having this conversation back when Donovan was still at Florida, when it was undoubtedly 1-2. It really, in facilities, fan base, arena, passion, etc., Arkansas should only be behind Kentucky, really, in the long haul of things. Right?
And right there boxing out with a group of 4 or 5. I mean, yeah, South Carolina's having a great year, but I mean, South Carolina can't be in that group.
Yeah, Georgia, but Tennessee, Florida, Bama, Tennessee, Bama, Auburn, and Florida right behind those 2 teams.
All right. If we had to quickly rank who you betting on in our discussion of SEC one-on-one games, just off the top of your head, because I don't know if anybody wants a piece of Latrell Sprewell.
Yeah, I meant to say Latrell Wrightsell, no relation to Latrell Sprewell. I thought that when I was writing that down earlier. It's an all-time SEC names.
All-time, one-on-one. Nobody wants a piece of Chris Jackson either.
When we call him Hollywood instead of James, I always liked Hollywood Robinson with his always had this what do they call it?
Now for everybody older than us, they're going, it's Pete Maravich, you dumb mother bleepers. I mean,
pistol.
Yeah. I mean, because that guy could shoot from everywhere. But I mean, what a great conversation that's going to be in June.
Yes, that's when we'll have it. That's when we'll have it. So I think we're going to cut and surprise our guys, Blake and all the crew in Nashville for Southeastern 14 that we're going to be under 45 minutes. Parting words. Tell them where to read the 5 at 10 and get Jay's place.
TimesFreePress.com every weekday morning at Times Free Press. It's called the 5 at 10. And you can sign up there for Jay's Plays, which is my afternoon gambling email, which was north of plus 100 units yesterday, but went 1 and 2 last night, backing UCLA and Nebraska as losses, and won with East Carolina on the over. But been having some fun with and enjoy having fun with this with bets and ball games. And thank those good folks back at Southeast 14 and the good folks, the good sponsor, Bet Online.
That's right. So I'm sure Bet Online will have their Saturday college basketball lines out here in the next hour or so. So be sure to check that out. Again, thanks to Southeastern 14 and Bet online. You can follow me on Twitter. My handle's at Vegas. B. Edwards. You find my content at majorwager.com and my picks at vegasinsider.com. For Jay Greeson, I am Brian Edwards, and another edition of Bets and Ball Games with Edwards and Greeson is in the books. Good luck with your bets. Talk to you on Friday.